Hello, readers. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author. I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, Editorial Director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Our guest this week is Alicia Cay, mystery writer and Wanderlust sufferer. Alicia's short fiction has appeared in Galaxy's Edge magazine and several anthologies, including a story made into a full-cast audiobook production for the Storyteller Series podcast. In 2020, she was awarded a scholarship to attend Superstars writing seminars, and later that same year made finalist in the Writers of the Future contest. If she's not your favorite now, she will be after. Welcome, Alicia. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Thank you.
Good. I mean, speaking of Writers of the Future, you just got home, didn't you?
I did. I just went as an attendee just to go and have a beautiful meal and rub elbows with the fancy folk.
Well, that's cool. How do you do that? You could just go? I thought you had to be invited.
I was invited.
Oh, you were invited. So you were just you didn't show up at the door and say, "Can I get in?"
List, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes so much more sense. I was so confused. I was like, wait, I want to go. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Oh, you mean you got to earn it? Fine. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we commented earlier, Zafo, because he sets all this stuff up about how many covers that you had, and it's pretty impressive. So, and these are all short stories, right? All short story collection. Is that where you're starting, or is that your goal? Is that really where you want to be?
No, that's where I started. So I was writing and I said, start with short stories because they have to be easier, right? I was a foolish, naive young thing back then. And I actually started entering that contest, and it kind of kept me going, gave me a deadline. I kept entering, I kept writing. And then surplus of stories. Started learning how to send them out. It's been a very slow progression, but I started to learn how to send them out and send them. And that's why you saw so many covers, because they've slowly started
finding homes.
World.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's premature to announce, but I don't care. It's mine. I mean, because we have you in our next anthology too. Your story was one of the first ones we were like, yes, it was so good. So,
do you know that that's my finalist story?
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool. No wonder it was a finalist. It deserved it.
Thank you. I was over the moon. I haven't been able to, the story's been out a long time, and I absolutely am enamored of my characters in that story. So I am with
same
acceptance. I was like, because it gets to be in print and they get to come alive, and I'm such a nerd that way. I feel like it's bringing.
Well, it is, right? If you're the only one who reads them, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a great way to look at it too. So much fun. So do you have more in mind for these characters?
I wanted to turn that story into a novel. I want to be a novelist. So I decided it's time to get off my butt. Novels, because it's really hard to be a novelist if you aren't writing novels. Procrastinating fiction, I get in my head about it, but it's so this year I've started to practice dictating so I can squeeze in some extra writing time, and now I shall be a novelist.
That sounds awesome. Well, in your bio, you had the long bio, so I didn't read it all, right? So, but there, you're please don't read that whole thing, please. But it was good because it gave me so much info, and I didn't have to go look everything up. It was nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want everyone to just send me questions. I mean, that could totally work for me. Let's do that. But I'm wondering, so you've worked for volunteering and then working for lots of different small publishers. What has been your favorite thing about doing that?
Interestingly, it's the experience. I do, and then it kind of leads to the next opportunity, which leads to the next opportunity. Work for Arc Manor, and I'm the associate editor. I do the proofreading and the copy editing, but I wouldn't do that without starting with Wordfire Press, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without starting reading Slush at multiple different places. But Slush reading is not my favorite thing to do, friends. No,
it's no one's favorite thing. It really isn't. Yeah.
it dings like it's like hail on your. It's little hail bumps and dinging you, and then diamond gem in the rough, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know humans could write this beautiful.
Right.
And above you rejects it, and you're like, oh, I wish I could reach out to some of them and tell them how beautiful their story was. So sometimes you guys, the slush readers, genuinely love your story, but the editors say no.
And I'll tell you, when the editors say no, they're not saying no because of quality.
Nope.
They're going to say no for lots of other reasons, and some of them just personal. So, which is why you got to keep doing it, man. You just keep sending it out, because you got to find, like you did with this story, right? Obviously, we were the right readers because we were like, yes. Yeah.
Call was the exact perfect fit. Like, you know what my story is about, right? And it was like resurrection, second chances. I was like, oh my God, this is the market for this story. So do I wait until a beautiful market opens up and fits the bill and
find that story? Have you ever like found an old story, like when you were writing when you were first starting, you're like, ooh, this works for that, but I kind of have to rewrite this?
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Honestly, because it's like, you can read it because you know it'll fit. Read it and you're like, oh my gosh. Oh God. Oh, look what I did. Oh no. Oh, oh there it was all a dream.
What was I thinking?
I made it's like there's like a secret collective, and we all make the exact same mistakes. Because I wrote for like the first 5 years without a lot of interaction with other people, and then cons and listening to panels and taking classes, and they're like, every new wake up beginning, and it was all a dream ending. And I'm like, yep. Yep. Like the exact same thing he does. How? So it was hilarious.
I think that's funny.
Friends.
I love it. I love it. Info dump at the beginning. But all this stuff is really important. No, it's not. It's not. I promise. It's not. Yeah. But I spent 3 days researching this. It doesn't. Believe me. Just yeah. So thinking about that, so this experience that you've got through writing, and this experience like reading through slush files and other people's works, and as an editor as well, what did you find something that you saw in other people's work and you're like, oh, I don't like that, and then you're like, ooh, I do that, I should probably fix that?
Yes.
Yes.
Things that inspired me about other people's writing when I was reading slush, I would then too, like these beautiful
smart.
I remember this to this day. This little girl is getting her hair braided by her mom. It was like a quick little flash of like character insight, and it literally took 4 or 5 words in the middle of a sentence, and it was a beautiful, tender moment, and it brought the character to life in a way that I'd never seen done before. So it actually did help. Reading other people's stories helps strengthens your own writing. And with not a mean eye.
Yeah.
What didn't work for me as a reader about this, and then what did work for me, and then oh yeah, I'm like, I love these things. So then boom, add them into my writing.
I say it only counts as a mean eye if you actually write it down. If you're complaining to someone about it where it's not being recorded, I think that's fair. I mean, when you've seen it 6 times, you just want to strangle someone if you have to see it again. I mean, come on. Then you calm down and you write nice notes. See, we've often on this podcast talked about where writers, when they first get information back from their editor, how they like curse their editor and they don't know what they're talking about. And I'm a writer and an editor, right? As you are. So I do the same thing when I get it back from my editor. I'm like, what is she talking about? There's nothing wrong with this, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at it and you go, dang it, that's okay, fine. No, I see your point. All right, maybe I need to, right? So there's like this cycle you go through. What people don't understand is editors do that too, like we read it and going, are you a freaking idiot? Why would you do that? Can you not see? And then we're like, hey, you know what? This is kind of cool, but maybe you should. But that is not what we're saying in our head. Just for the record. I'm sorry, I'm giving away secrets. Is this okay?
Yeah. Secrets.
Insider trading. We get just as mad. And sometimes I'm like, quit doing this. And I'm like, he hasn't hasn't seen my edits yet. I can't tell him to quit doing it, even though I've told him 3 times because he hasn't seen these yet. Right now, stop it. Like I have to correct myself, right? Because you get tired of seeing it, whatever that one thing was, right? And you're like, didn't I tell you to fix this today? And you haven't seen this yet? Never mind. Delete comment. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm so sorry. That's when you know it's time to take a break.
Set your recommendation, and you're like, oh, these people.
That's right.
When I first started submitting, like after having some editing under my belt, I go back and there would be edits on them, and I was like, how dare you think that I need a call? Oh wait, yeah, no, I definitely do. So I like when I'm a writer, I'm a writer. When
Right.
writer, I'm not going to do it clean. I can't see my words.
Yep.
That's what the editor's for. So you let them do their job on your stories. And then I stopped getting like heard about it. And I was like, oh, cool. That I didn't have to. Editors help and make your life a little bit better and a little bit easier. So don't freak out about it.
Right. And make that story better. Like I say over and over again, our number one job as a writer is to keep the readers reading. Nothing we do is more important than that. Nothing. Because there's no point if you don't keep the readers reading. So any editor that's going to help me do that is wonderful. So this is a common question we get from writers. So now I don't talk to a whole lot of editors. So I'm glad you're on. So you do both, just like me, wearing both hats. As both, how has that affected your reading for fun?
Oh, I've noticed it's starting to become hard for me to read for fun. So I need to address that, or potentially do something before I start reading that turns off my editor brain, because reading, and then all I could see is like the commas, the punctuation, and oh, they missed this. Oh my gosh, there's a word missing here. And I find that I start reading with a pencil and underlining it. You're going to see this already printed copy of Stephen King.
Right.
But I have to CD, so I have to stop. I need to like figure out a way to like meditate for 5 minutes before or something, and then just be like, I'm reading. Like turn off editor brain.
I find alcohol helps.
I would just fall asleep with the book on my face.
That also might happen. Also a possibility, which is why I just use my Kindle now. People are like, don't you love paperback? I'm like, I do. I love them. I love the way they feel. I love the way they look on my shelf. I love the hardback pretty ones. But I'm most of the time when I'm reading for fun, it's in bed. And it gets heavy. It's very heavy.
That I can turn off all the lights, and my Kindle has the backlight.
Yes.
Put up with one hand. Bloop.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, sorry. I mean, we're just talking. We got to be practical, man. We got to be practical. I'm not sitting. I watch a lot of. Have you seen anything on BookTube? Like on YouTube, you have all these book bloggers.
No.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. I'm totally addicted. I've been watching it for like a month now, and I can't stop. And I follow like 24 people. So my lunch break, I just go through and see what they've updated. By the way, my TBR pile is way too big now. Like, there's no way I'm going to read this before I die. Like, the Goodreads list, like, they're like, ooh, that looks good. I want to read that one. Oh, look, that's 478 I have on there now. I'm totally going to get to them, I swear. Ugh.
And I had to start being practical. So I was like, that sounds amazing. I'm really going to read. No, I'm not. No, you're not. Just don't even add it to your list. Don't even add it to your wish list. Now,
well, I mean, what can it hurt? It's on my Goodreads list. Now, if I'm buying all these books, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. But yeah, no, but it's really fun to watch them and see the things that they're reading and all that kind of stuff. But they do this for a living, right? That's their living. Their living is making these blogs. And so like, you'll see them like, sitting on the couch with the throw blanket, making tea. For some reason, they have to video that. I don't know why. It's required. So they video making tea, and it's making me really want tea. So it totally works. And then they're sitting there with their hardback book reading. I'm like, oh,
no.
I know.
See me read. I'd be like, I'm in sweatpants, like, reading, which is do that, kids, because you're like holding a book and you're like, and then dog. No, okay.
You're like, this didn't work. No. Didn't work. I think there's a niche. We could totally make this work. How people actually read. It's just going to be us covered in blankets on the bed, room dark, just the light from the Kindle. That's good.
Super.
That's all it is. CPAP machine. This is what you get, man. This is. Oh, I love it. That's fun. Um, so stories. So you have a ton of these stories, and I'm assuming that you write a lot of genre, right? Since you're writers of the future, and I've read your stories too.
Yes, I write speculative fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my non speculative fiction are like more mystery stories, but then I've started speculative fiction, and I'm
Me too. It's fun, right?
oh my gosh, it's the best.
Yes. I agree. I'm totally addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really, really good combo. I think we've been missing it for years.
It's
I love it. So with all of this speculative fiction and stuff, what were like your inspirations growing up? What did you read? What did you watch?
oh, I grew up, I didn't even know it was like now that I'm older. I and everyone's like, "Oh, did you ever see this movie Labyrinth?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, like yeah, like we grew up on that." So all the movies I grew up watching were I think it was because of my dad. So my dad was super big into like science fiction and
Hmm?
so I grew up on Labyrinth and Enemy Mine and like these old Krull, like these really terrible sci-fi and
Well, that's all we had.
these
Mhm.
real bad ones. And my dad read science fiction and fantasy. He would let me read Lord of the Rings until I was old enough to appreciate it, which, as it turns out, he decided was me 18 years old. So I read Lord of the Rings for the first time when I was 18. But before that, I read everything that wasn't locked down off my dad's shelf, which was pretty much I would say really lent towards the classic science fiction and fantasy stuff and then horror. I mean, it was like Clive Barker and Lumley and King and Kuntz and like you name it. Robert McCammon is still to this day pretty much my favorite author. Swan Song beats out The Stand, but The Stand is very good, Mr. King.
Love this stand.
Yeah. So I that's just all that I read. That's all I read. So that's all I almost knew existed as an option. Like
Mm-hmm.
it occurred to me that there was like, yeah, anything else. I mean, when I would go to the library as a young girl, I'd pick out horse books, but they were like Misty of Chinka. Yeah. So some of the horses or animals had like thoughts or feelings. So not speculative, but not
Nonfiction either. Yeah. Yeah.
not like literary fiction.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Where I started. That's what
I love that.
that's
Mm-hmm.
for me.
It makes sense. It was a natural progression.
It was.
Well, if you had to write a nonfiction book about something you're an expert at, what would it be?
It would have to do with crime, I think, just because of like what I do for a living. For like almost 20 years, I've been a 911 dispatcher. So, and I love a good suspense on the edge of your seat, like not a thriller in the sense of like, oh, the we stole some codes and these spies and the government are after us, but like page turning, a crime drama type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disappeared or there's these murders that someone has to solve and then he figures out at the end that a woman was doing it the whole time or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it
Well, I would think that'd also be a very healthy way to deal with the stress of your job. Because let's face it, in the real world, the bad guy doesn't always get caught. I'm sorry?
I thought you meant murdering people.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, that's a side note. We'll talk about that later. No.
We hid the body. Oh wait, no.
What body? I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, because the stress of the job, I would think would, really get on you. So when you're trying to get into someone's head, at least this way you can make sure the bad guy gets caught.
A little
So,
just what honestly what happens is in order for anyone to last in an industry like that, emergency nurses, just people in this whole firefighters, EMT, paramedics, right? You start to develop, if you're going to last, you develop a little bit of a twisted sense of humor. Play really well in books like that. So it's not just a serious tone, it's a couple different notes, right? You're going to have twisted, bizarre point of view on life. And I'm going to see crazy detectives based on real people.
You're like, I know these guys. Oh.
My coworkers, but you know, their names will be changed.
Oh, yeah, of course. And it's still a characterization, right? That's one thing people have to realize. Yes, I thought about you while I was writing this, but it is still a characterization. You know, it's not exactly you. At least tell them that so they feel better.
Yes, exactly. Sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. That's it. It's the way it's going to work. When the writing is slow, like it's just not coming, what do you do to get your mojo back?
I taught myself this at the beginning of 2020. Obviously, I didn't know the pandemic was about to hit. So I decided I set myself a little challenge that any anthology call that I took fancy to, I was sorry for. Obviously, there's anthologies and they have themes, right? So they're like, whatever, oranges versus tomatoes. And you're like, how would I ever write a story about oranges versus tomatoes? So I learned to research and be able to create a story out of nothing but research. I happen to be a research nerd, so I love it, and I will go down rabbit holes, you guys, that I searching oranges, and I end up over here on like ships that were built in the 1700s that vanished in the Bermuda Triangle.
And they were hauling oranges. That's right.
Obscure, I've never heard of before, but this man did this, and like literally I have stories like that, like the one in the one uncollected anthology, literally about a World War II submarine that like bombed a passenger ship somewhere in the Pacific that supposedly had a lot of treasure on it. So just that's how I do it. I just research and I end up in crazy places, and then I take two ideas and I meld them together and I have a blast. So I can generate a story from a story prompt that like boom.
That's so much fun. I do find it to be super creative. I also call it procrastinating because I have books to write. So I wonder, as you now are striving towards novelist, right? So you're striving towards this novel that you want to write. What's your plan for making sure that these things that you've now disciplined yourself to write the short stories, right? Like this, you're really good at. What do you think you're going to use to combat? You know what? I'm just going to write this short story real quick.
Well, I'm going to
leave me alone, Kelly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And I'm definitely going to find all the other things first. Like I have to read books on how to outline first. So how to outline.
That's right.
I haven't started that novel yet. Listen up. I have to learn how to train my dragon because I got that dragon software. So first I have to do that. That's exactly what happens. But
I'll tackle it when I get there. Okay, leave me alone.
I'm telling you, like, I'm going to start my novel this summer. Like, that's my thing. I'm giving myself 6 months. I'm going to start. But first, I have these 2 short stories that I'm just going to knock out real quick.
I mean, you've got like 2 months left. You can totally do that.
I have
a month left. Sorry, a month left. Yes. Yeah.
You in 10 days.
No problem.
He knows exactly what anthology I'm talking about if he my friend. And
your friend's going, yeah, you better hurry up.
Really, really knock that one out. But I have the idea for it. So therein lays the biggest obstacle. The big hurdle for me is the writing. Research. I love the outlining. I love outlining. I could outline forever and write summaries forever.
Me too.
Actually putting like the clay down that you have to mold. Once I have the clay, the words like just on the paper, just like I call it word vomit because I just don't even care if it's pretty. I put stuff in bracket. Look this up in brackets. Make this better. Like I just put a line out. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I have fun editing because I go back in and it's like snipping away this and moving this line up here and making it flow. And it's like, ooh, now you get to clay and shape it. And if you're really lucky, Patrick Swayze comes and helps you with not just
But you can keep wishing. That's right.
clay pot together in a beautiful scene. But yeah, the actual putting down words is my hardest bit.
No, same. I'm glad I'm not the only one. People are like, I can just write all the time, but man, I don't want to go back and edit it. And I'm like, but that's the fun part. What are you talking about? It's just more proof that just for all of you new writers out there, right? Like it's proof that there is no right way to do this.
Nope.
There's only a wrong way to do that, and that is to not start and not finish. Those are the wrong ways. But every other thing, just keep going till you find your thing, man. I love it. Well, you love research so much. Have you considered like historical fiction?
Historical fiction and my speculative, I have a whole bunch of period pieces. I have a nonfiction or nonfiction. I keep saying that non-speculative fiction that's in the Sherlock Holmes canon.
Mm-hmm.
Did so much research on that. But yeah, I will research you guys. The clothes, the food, the everything, just the lightest touch of detail into the story. Like somebody grabbed a vase off the shelf and threw it, and it was a vase of the something period. To tell you that Ming vase he threw, that was all I wrote. He picked up a blue pattern Ming vase, and then someone like ducked as the whatever pieces, like it's not made of porcelain, but it's a word I can't pronounce. Pieces shattered on the wall. I researched for probably 20 minutes to tell you what that was made out of. He picked it up and would have decorated a Victorian era house. But that's my favorite bit. I use the lightest touch, you guys. The lightest brush in little details. But then some of the best feedback I get is that I make the periods of time that you go back to in the stories believable.
They feel real. It's those little details that make it feel real. And when you do your job right, which it sounds like you did, with that scene for sure, you do your job right. We don't know that you did all that research, right? It just feels like that was natural with the story. There was no other way to do it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
An enhancement to it. It can't be the historicalness of it, but so some of my favorite pieces and the pieces that have done the best are my pieces. And
I love it.
The Victorian era, and they're set in France. So
fun.
French words because I sprinkle them in. I'm like, yeah, let's give myself a challenge now too. Favorite bits. The World War II era, or it was World War II with the submarine. Specs of submarines that I had downloaded, and like you can go to some of these old battle submarines and go through them. So I watched people's YouTube videos of them touring the inside of these things, so that when I describe this man going down into this haunted, recently risen submarine that's full of creepies and crawlies, I'm describing actually what I saw in those videos and what are on the specs. So cool. That's my favorite part, you guys. It's my favorite part. I am a research nerd. I love it so much.
Well, have you visited anywhere that like inspired one of your stories?
Yeah, I've traveled. I lived in London for 6 months, and I traveled all over Europe, and I have an affinity for, obviously, Paris and France. So I keep setting stories there. Actual villages and castles and places that exist are just story fodder. Yes, all of them. everywhere I go. I've lived in LA. I've lived in Hollywood for half a year, a couple years ago. And Hollywood has a feel, like a vintage feel, like a 1950s vintage feel that makes me feel like when I go there, everyone inside of these old crumbling Hollywood houses are like starlets that never made it. And they're these like degraded actresses and like the stories that exist in a place for me when I go and I can feel the environment and like stories just and then I start researching and I lose my mind.
You're like, there's more, I must write about all this. Have you been to New Orleans yet?
Yeah, I was born in southern Louisiana, so we used to go back to New Orleans every year for Mardi Gras.
That's awesome. Well, that explains the historical entrance too, for heaven's sakes.
I would joke that I was born in one swamp and raised in another because when we were very young, we moved to South Florida in the Everglades area of South Florida. So I love a good swampy, bug-infested, creepy, crawly, overly humid, like environment for mysteries, which of course there are several famous mystery series set in the sweaty places of Florida and the sweaty armpits of Florida. I can say that because I lived there for most of my life.
I think we can all say that. It's fine.
Yeah. So New Orleans is like beautiful in theory, and then you go there, and it is not quite the romantic, vampire-ridden, lusty place that it is described in novels as being. There's a lot of people going to in the streets there. I told you the secret. It's right. Also during just so you know. Mardi Gras, but
well, that's why I have no interest in going during Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
I'm too old for that. I don't.
Now I am, but I went in my 20s.
Equal the torment for me. Yeah, it's just not.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
No, but I do want to eat my way through. Holy moly!
That's food. The beignets.
Yep, and my husband wants to sit in all the jazz cafes. So
I'm sorry.
Yep. I know. You should apologize to me. I mean, I'm fine with that kind of stuff, but I'm not good at sitting. So that's my problem.
Okay.
We laugh. We'll go somewhere and we'll go sit at the bar and I'll just bring my computer. So I'm fine. I can just work.
Yeah. Yep.
If I can work, I can sit there for a while.
My friend just came back from a trip, coworker of mine came back from a trip to Japan, and they have these record bars there, which are like people's private collections of like hundreds of thousands of records, and they'll just like play whatever they're in the mood for. And you don't really talk in there. You just go in and you just chill and maybe have some coffee or tea or something, and you just listen. They're just like listening bars.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a story.
I mean, can't you do that at home?
Yeah, but you don't get to enjoy this other person's curated collection that they've been accumulating for years.
Sure you do. It's Spotify. You just
and their sound system. Their sound systems are
go.
Sometimes vintage. Like, so my sound system is, laptop speakers don't really.
Yeah, I was going to say the speakers on my laptop. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. That's all I have. It is what it is. Yes. I was checking the chat real quick. All right, we're good. Looks like they had a sound problem, but it's all fixed. That's all good. It happens sometimes. Let's see. I think we have our rapid fire questions now. Yes, we do. All right. First, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh man. That's a tough one. I like anything that has like a salty caramel, or the chocolate fudge brownie from Ben & Jerry's is my fallback. Like if they don't have anything that looks interesting, chocolate fudge brownie.
Chocolate fudge. I like it. I mean, you can't go wrong. Sometimes you just need that comfort, all the sugar.
Ice cream comfort.
That's right. Surf or turf?
Turf. Because I would say a really good steak is like on my top 5 favorite meals.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with just a nice cut of meat. What weird thing do you collect?
A weird thing. I probably had some weirder collections in my life, but then I started to get older and I was like, oh my God, why do I have all this junk? And I like purged. I was like, I'm going to become a minimalist except for books, and threw everything away. So
And
I
kitchen
started to go
equipment.
for like, yeah. So I just started to go for like when I travel, like magnets. So I put them on my fridge. So probably the biggest collection of something that I have, but it's not weird, but it's magnets. It's just like shows everywhere that I've been or what my mood was when I was there, something like that. But really, I purged most of the other stuff. It's so funny because after I get off this, I'm gonna like go and sit on my sofa and be like, "Oh my God, I forgot to tell her that I collect like the teeth of 38-year-old men in this jar, and I totally forgot to tell her that." But I don't do that. And why specifically 38-year-old men, I don't know.
Paper, how
I'll
old are
probably
you
have,
again? Oh, wait.
yeah. Like they're not ripe at 37, and at 40 they're just too old.
Too old. It's got to be 38 before
Yeah,
the
they start to
real
get
rot
brittle
kicks
in
in.
the enamel. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm also a mystery writer, guys, so
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I love a good murder mystery. You know it's bad when you're at like Walmart or Target and you're walking down the bin aisle, you know, the big Rubbermaid storage bins, and
Mhm.
you're just walking down and you look down and you go, oh, a body could fit into that. Like that's how you know you're starting to go over the edge as a writer.
Like, what are
And
those
that's,
dimensions? I have to write this down.
I mean, a saw blade from Hardware, and I could make someone fit. Like, and I also watched a lot of Snapped, so
See? Well, that was my next question is what is your current, because I find writers consume just as much as they produce. So what is your current obsession? Like, what are you watching that you just love right now?
oh my gosh, Kelly, I shouldn't admit any of this, but I love documentaries and horror documentaries. So, I mean, if it's like true crime, murder mystery, horror documentaries, there was one recently called Frogging, which is like PHRO, so not like FRO. And
Okay.
frogging means when someone lives in your house without you knowing it, like they live like in the crawl space under your home or something. I couldn't watch this show after dark. Like I could only watch it during the day because I live alone. So I was like, then like my
That's a thing.
dishwasher will click. Yes, it's a thing they made a TV show about, like true stories, not like fake. So it'll like interview people that like discovered like one guy like the radiator pipe had come out of the floor, and when he went over and reached down and picked it up and he looked down in the hole, there was an eyeball staring at him.
Oh, no.
Sleep.
I'd be like, is there a possum in there? That's what I would think. Oh, it's a raccoon. No, it's a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So true crime, I know it seems crazy because I also work in the field, but like I consume it like podcasts, TV shows, like it's really bad. And then when I've had enough of that, like and I need to lighten it, trashy reality TV. Like the worst, like 90 Day Fiance bad.
You're like, I want the worst of the worst. Please drown me in it.
Like brainless, requires no thought or any type of involvement. Yeah. So I'm very weird. I
Okay.
just want to veg.
No, I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
So in your job, now I know there are real emergencies all the time. However, there's also crazy ass people that call you all the time, right? Okay.
All the time.
So you have to deal with this in your real job.
Yeah.
And yet you still want to watch the crazy ass people on TV. I'm
Maybe
curious. I'm a little more here.
maybe it's what's tarnished me. Maybe it's gotten to me. Almost 2 decades doing it, and I'm like, now I can't get enough of it.
You're like, you don't understand. These are normal people.
Yeah.
You might be protected. I see all of them. Yeah.
See it all. Yeah, the crazy people at work are just I don't know, there's a level of like empathy that obviously I have. I'm caring for them and I'm taking care of them and helping them or sending them help. And so usually I'm very nice. So maybe sometimes it's nice to just come home and like yell at the TV screen. Like, what are you thinking? Oh my gosh. And sometimes I yell at like my corgi and she's like, she'll just look at me from her bed like, oh, this person, this human, you're weird. I'm like, can you believe this, Chili? Can you believe that they're making this life choice that's probably scripted, but I don't care. I pretend it's real.
You're like, oh, don't keep doing that. You're going to be calling me next.
Yeah, it's like safe drama. It's drama that's completely far away from me.
That's right. It's
So
on the
maybe that's what
screen.
it is.
It's over there. That's right. For my particular life, this isn't real. It's great.
Right. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. All right. When staying in a hotel, do you unpack?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither. Will you be surprised how many people do? That's why I add this as a question. It surprises me. I
Then
know
I
it's
just have to pack again, and that is torture.
what's the point? No, I don't. What mythical creature would you least like to pet sit?
Ooh, to pet sit.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I feel like pet sitting a unicorn would get really awkward because I feel like everything afterwards would have like holes in it. Where they- like my curtains, like my drapery would just be like stabbed through
What?
as it tried to look out the window or something.
Alicia, what happened to your ceiling fan?
One blade's just hanging down. Oh yeah, sorry, my unicorn got hot.
Tried to see the fan themselves.
Right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Where was my last question? It went away. Oh, can zombies climb?
That's a good one. Do you know I'm like recently reading Jonathan Mayberry's YA
Rotten Ruin? Oh my gosh, I
series?
love that.
Yeah, I'm on the
Love that
third book.
series.
So
I need to reread it. Yeah, it's been years.
It's crazy that I'm so into this, but
Mhm.
their zombies can't turn door handles and stuff. So as long as you're like in the house, well, some of them can, but very, 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 very few. But it's like as long as you're just in your bedroom with the door like closed, you're safe. So the idea of them climbing is horrifying. I would say no. I would say no. I'm going to go with no.
I like no. No for my personal sanity, okay?
Yes.
That's right. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
real anyway, so don't talk to me about reality. So I like this one, okay?
I'm gonna let you guys in on like a fun little secret. So we have an emergency city emergency plans as 911 dispatch, right? Obviously, because should a tornado hit or the place catch on fire, like whatever, we have to initiate certain emergency procedures. Communication center is the hub of all communications for a city or a district. So everything comes through us. Like if you're a police officer or you're a firefighter or you're a paramedic, you don't know how to do anything except ask dispatch to do it for you. That's the secret.
Tells you where to go.
We have a zombie plan in our emergency plan.
So does the CDC.
Yep, exactly. So we know what to do if there's ever a zombie apocalypse in my city.
And you're like, and I have metal doors. I'm fine.
Yeah, and they lock. And they require a little scanny badge. So the zombies aren't. I'm not getting out to get food or use the bathroom, but whatevs.
But I am fine in here for now.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. Well, you've been amazing, Alicia. And now we would like to know, where can fans find you and your work?
At my website, which I think you guys will probably have on yours, but it's Alicia Cay, which is CAY, all one word, AliciaCay.com. And it's kind of like a really not well kept up blog, but there's like stuff on my editing on there and there's stuff on my writing. And just if I go on a trip, I have really bad wanderlust. So sometimes I post little things about traveling or where I would like to be. So we're Facebook. Any of my socials is Alicia Cay Writes, at Alicia Cay Writes. Instagram and Facebook are the ones I use the most. So please come on there, interact with me, show me pictures of old castles and faraway places.
I love
My
it.
favorite.
Oh, that's a great call. I like that. Please send me these things. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, now that Alicia is your new favorite author, please make sure to review her work. You can also review us wherever it is you get your podcast, and you can follow us on Twitch and Subscribe to us on YouTube. Nobody can use the same words. It's very frustrating. And we will see you next week where we interview David Akrut. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.